Hello, I'm Charles Kovess, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Kovess Show. In this week's show, my one big idea for you is this: great teams are blessings. I'm going to share with you 7 key steps so you can build them and you can transform your life and the lives of all of the team members in such great teams. This show is built on the formula SA plus P equals S. Self-awareness plus passion equals success. Your self-awareness tied in with your passion will make you successful. Since 1993, when I left my legal career that I loved, I have spent the past 27 years inspiring, provoking, educating people to discover and pursue their passion. And I've been doing that through speeches at conferences, workshops, group coaching, and one-on-one executive coaching. These ideas can change your life because it's changed the lives of so many people who have told me that their lives have changed. I've also helped people with the books that I've written. Passionate People Produce was my first book. That's been a bestseller. The second one, Passionate Performance. And I've also co-authored 7 Heavenly Virtues of Leadership. Those books have also had wonderful feedback. So I urge you to go to our websites and check out whether you want to invest in your ongoing education around passion. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." My wish for you is that you do have a life worth living. Therefore, spend time examining it. Raise your self-awareness. You can see I'm wearing my red coat. The colour of red is the colour of passion. My trademark. When you see red, think passion. As you know, regular listeners and viewers will know that I focus on one big idea each week so that you don't get bombarded by too many ideas in this show and then you don't know what to do. I also share with you practical resources to help you build on the utility of this idea in your life. A quote, a book, a spiritual tip, a health tip, a song, a whole new way of looking at a song. I have no intention of making this show politically correct. I reject the idea of political correctness. If you want to know why, you can go back to the previous last week's episode when I talk about you speaking your truth and letting go of any fear of ever offending anybody. I subscribe to the view, this show subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual side to our lives, and that's particularly relevant to great teams. And I've chosen this week's theme because this weekend is grand final weekend in Australia for the AFL, Australian Football League, and the National Rugby League. And that grand final is on tonight. Football was on last night. So, what's happened since last week's show? Well, hang on, before I get to that, you know I'm also in favour of certain types of addictions, and one of them is drinking my coffee. I'm addicted to coffee. It's a crucial element to being able to do this show. If I didn't have a coffee, I wouldn't be able to do this show. Yum. What a joy it is these days to be able to have an excellent coffee machine at home, as many of you do have, and to enjoy the smell and the taste of this wonderful stuff. No wonder I'm addicted. Okay, back to what happened in the last week. Well, here I am with my darling wife Julie, living still in lockdown. The worst lockdown on the planet. There was a slight easing last Sunday. Our Premier Daniel Andrews keeps making up the rules as he goes, and there's no basis for his rules. He just decides. He ignores the advice of thousands of doctors, experts around the world. He says, I have decided. He ignores the advice of the World Health Organization that lockdowns do nothing. They add no value. He is destroying hundreds of thousands of people, small business owners' lives. You see, because whilst he says and the federal government says we're all in this together, the truth is we're not all in this together. Small business is suffering badly. The businesses that have not been able to open, all the public servants are getting their income, all the politicians are getting their income, most medicos are still getting their income, transport companies, trade union dominated industries like infrastructure and construction, you know, their lives haven't been dramatically interrupted. It's about 1/3 of Victoria's population that has been absolutely decimated. And for no good reason. No solid basis of science, of data, of fact. So, I share that message with you because if you think Daniel Andrews is doing a good job, I again say you are sadly misinformed. I've invested a great deal of time since this coronavirus game started in February. I have looked at sources, alternative sources of information all around the world. If you think Daniel Andrews is doing a good job, you are misinformed. And not only that, but he tells lies to the inquiry that he established. He says he can't remember who made decisions. I say, liar. And this is the Premier of this state. And the tragedy is that the colleagues around him have not got the guts to push back against him. And I hope Victorians remember that it's the whole Labor Party supporting this megalomaniac Premier making these decisions. In support of what I'm sharing with you today, I'm also in today's Sunday papers, the Herald Sun and the Age, as a co-contributor to large advertisements demanding that Daniel Andrews, the Premier, open Victoria up, get rid of these lockdowns. I also call on the other premiers of this country to open up their borders. Section 92 of the Australian Constitution guarantees free trade, commerce and travel between the states. The premiers are ignoring that, and our High Court did not have the guts to have an urgent hearing on this matter on a case initiated by Clive Palmer. As a former lawyer, I say that's a disgrace. The High Court's interest in the welfare of a large portion of this country's people its level of interest in them is disgraceful. I call on the High Court to wake up. Sometimes these lawyers who get into high places forget how life works because, again, their income, the income of no judge has suffered, no magistrate has suffered around Australia. I want to share with you one webinar that I attended, organised by the Menzies Research Centre, with Lieutenant General, actually, I think we call them lieutenants in Australia, Lieutenant American Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster. And he spoke about the amazing geopolitical issues around Australia, around the Pacific, between America, China, Australia, Taiwan, the Philippines, and all these major decisions and ideas that are relevant to security. Because you might think, oh, it doesn't matter what Australia, America do with China. I would suggest that such thinking that this doesn't matter what China is doing, what it wants to do with Taiwan, what North Korea is doing, that it all doesn't matter. I think it does matter. It was a very instructive webinar and I was delighted to attend it, and I just remind you that it's worthwhile investing your time that you're saving in travel because you're locked up in home to find out great webinars that give you a new way of thinking, as I hope this show does. And I can also report that Julie and I have both been continuing with our respective exercise regimes. My bike is getting a lovely workout virtually every day, subject to the rain. I urge you to keep your exercise regimes going. So, that was the week that was. Now, before I get to this week's big idea in some detail, I invite you to subscribe to this podcast, to subscribe if you're watching it on YouTube to the YouTube channel, to share this show with your friends if you think it's worthwhile, and help us to build the audience so that these ideas that might resonate with you, that may be of value to your friends and colleagues and neighbours, that we can share these ideas. This show is about improving your life, improving the lives of people around you so that they can have successful lives. You can also subscribe to Passion Points to Ponder at each of our websites, covest.com, which is for corporate programs, public programs, and charlescovest.com, which is all about the self-awareness and passion quest, a group coaching experience. Now, today's big idea. Great teams are blessings. I'm going to share with you 7 key steps to build great teams. This weekend, as I said earlier, is the Australian Football League National Rugby League Grand Final weekend. The 2 best teams in each of those 2 competitions are playing Grand Finals. Yesterday was Richmond against Geelong. Today it's the Penrith Panthers against Melbourne Storm. From a whole season disrupted by coronavirus, the 2 best teams get into these Grand Finals. What makes these teams good teams, excellent teams, perhaps great teams? With Richmond winning its 3rd premiership in 4 years last night, the argument is that it is very close to, if not absolutely clear, that it is a great team. So I thought the big idea would be, in the context of what's happening in such sporting arenas, very relevant because you've been observing, for those of you interested in sport, these demonstrations of excellence in teamwork. Now, you are in various teams. In your life, you've been in work teams, you are in work teams. And there are different types of work teams. There are short-term teams, long-term teams. You are in a team in your family. You are in a team in your church, in a charity that you might be working with, in some not-for-profit, in some political organisation. They are all teams. And I want you to think about, what is the best team or teams that you have been a part of? Because when you are in a great team, when you are in an extraordinary team, it is a true deep blessing. And I'll explain why I use the word blessing a little bit later. Think back to what it's like to be in a great team. I suggest to you that most workplaces don't have great teams. And I suggest to you that's because the leaders of those teams don't understand what needs to happen to build great teams. Because who trains you in how to build great teams? How to build fully functioning, high-performing, highly productive and effective teams. Where do you get that training? Well, that's the work that I've been sharing. That's the work I've been doing in workshops and talking about in speeches for the last 27 years. And why did I get into this work? It's because in my whole life I have been a part of teams. I have applied these principles that I'm going to share with you, and they work. I guarantee to you, they work. I have shared these ideas with Essendon Football Club in the 1990s. I worked with Brisbane Lions just before they won 3 premierships in a row. I worked with Wests Tigers in the NRL in 2004, just before it won its most recent premiership. That was 16 years ago. The ideas work. I have developed these ideas that I'm going to share with you as part of a suite, if you like, of 11 key ideas, followed by another 16 ideas. That's 27 particular ideas, strategies, tactics that help you decide if you are a leader of a team or a team member, because you are just as responsible for making this team function as the leader. You might not be accountable, but you're responsible. And I've developed these ideas through my long journey that in its biggest way started in 1977. in 1977 when, at the age of 25, I became president of the Lawn Surf Lifesaving Club, one of Australia's preeminent surf lifesaving clubs, certainly one of the top clubs in Victoria. And I was the leader of a club where there were 50, 55-year-old members, and I was president for 5 years. I was president of the local Catholic primary school for 5 years. I was on the Law Institute Council for 3 years, governing the behaviour of solicitors in this state of Victoria. It is a whole list that goes on. So you can be sure that I'm not going to share with you steps that don't work. These work. So, what are the 7 key steps? Number 1, and I'll run through these. I don't want to take too long, because if you want to get the top 11 plus the next 16, please send me an email to charles@covest.com, or get me to come and work with your team at work, or whatever team you're in. I guarantee it'll make a massive difference. So, 7 key steps. Number 1, frequency of interaction of team members in well-structured team meetings. Don't have boring, dull, crappy meetings. And the meetings have to be frequent and well-structured. Number 2, clear adoption of the standards to which the particular team aspires. Is the team committing to play in sporting terms at international, interstate, local A grade or country thirds standard? In other words, there's a clear decision to be made. What standard are we playing to? 3rd key step. Have celebration regularly for even small achievements. In last night's grand final and tonight's NRL grand final, when a team scores a goal or a try, the team members don't stand around and say to each other, well, we budgeted on that goal. No. First goal, they go crazy. The supporters go crazy. Why don't you have celebrations when something good happens at work, rather than going, oh yeah, we budgeted on that? Number 4, every team, every organisation needs to have clear purpose, vision, goals, strategies and values that govern the team. What's the purpose of the team? What's its vision? What are its goals? What are its strategies? And what values are we going to observe as we pursue those goals, the vision, the purpose? Most people are very vague on these matters. This is the glue that binds human beings together. Number 5, clear written team agreements. In the AFL and NRL, the team agreements go to some pages. I recommend a top 12, top 15 team agreements that govern how team members deal with each other, communicate with each other, react to each other. Number 6, a willingness within each team to use each team member's unique attributes. That's the value of teams, that each one of us, as you've heard me say in other shows, each one of us is a weirdo. The beauty of teams is that we have different skills, different insights. I think that's one of the reasons why Daniel Andrews has gone totally off the deep end, because he has become a megalomaniac and doesn't listen to other people's opinions. What teams help us to do is to understand other opinions, other insights that help us make better decisions. In football, in AFL football, in rugby, look at the differing sizes between the small guys and the big guys. Massive difference. And the big guys don't complain about the small guys not being able to do what they can do, and vice versa. That's what great teams do. They use the unique attributes of team members. And number 7, practice sharing mistakes at team meetings. If you're not making mistakes, if team members aren't making mistakes, then there's nothing new being tried. So if you're not raising discussions of mistakes in team meetings, you're not dealing with real issues. So, these 7 key steps will transform the way your teams that you're a part of function. And if you're not a leader, then please share those 7. Share this show with your leader. Now, I talked about weirdos. Time for a bit of humour. You know, I've been a bit passionate about all this. Well, I've discovered some new job interview techniques, you see. And because you want to have people with unique attributes, including those who are addicted to coffee like me, here's some new job interview techniques, okay? So you're going to have a new team member. You put them in a room with only a table and 2 chairs. Leave them alone for 2 hours without any instruction. At the end of that 2 hours, go back and have a look what they're doing. If they've taken the table apart, put them into engineering. If they're counting the butts in the ashtray, assign them to finance. If they ask why they had to wait for 2 whole hours, credit and collections is their place. If they're waving their arms and talking out loud, send them to consulting. If they're talking to the chairs, personnel is a good spot for them. If they're wearing green sunglasses and need a haircut, computer information systems is their niche. If they mention what a good price we got for the table and chairs, put them into purchasing. If they're sleeping, they are management material. And if they don't even look up when you enter the room, assign them to security. And then lastly, if they try to tell you it's not as bad as it looks, send them to marketing. Woohoo! I hope you got a chuckle out of those. I certainly did. Now, the song of the week, relevant to great teams. This song is inspirational. It gives you, as you know with my songs, I like taking these wonderful words that people have written and repurpose them. And here it is for great teams. This song is Nothing's Going to Stop Us Now. And it starts off, looking in your eyes, I see a paradise. This world that I've found is too good to be true. Standing here beside you, want so much to give you, this love in my heart that I'm feeling for you. Let them say we're crazy. I don't care about that. Put your hand in my hand, baby. Don't ever look back. Let the world around us just fall apart. Baby, we can make it if we're heart to heart. Crucial element in great teams, being heart to heart. And it goes on the chorus. And we can build this thing together, standing strong forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now. And if this world runs out of lovers, we'll still have each other. And on it goes. And that's what footballers do. That's what great teams do. You read the newspapers. The footballers who have succeeded in premierships this weekend, they will be quoted as saying, I love my teammates. You see, great teams have a deep heart-to-heart connection with each other, bound by the glue of purpose, vision, goals, strategies and values. This is the glue. And that's why the Bible says, without a vision, the people perish. And you start to go, gosh, imagine. And that's why I said to you, think about great teams. The great teams that you have been in have deep heart-to-heart connections. Just imagine if the teams at work that you're a part of had such connections. I say to you, the research is clear that the great companies do have those types of connections. The great sporting teams do have those types of connections. The book of the week is Passionate Performance, my second book. Why? Because there are practical steps to building great teams. So if you want to get more deeply into these steps, get hold of that book. You can order it online at our websites. My quote of the week is by Dale Carnegie, and it relates to this unique attributes, the weirdos that you are in teams with. If you want to build a great team, you have to learn to appreciate the weirdos. And Dale Carnegie says this: you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. That leads to my spiritual tip. Because we've been talking heart to heart and blessings of being part of a great team, because it's a spiritual connection in great teams. The spiritual tip is for you to find 5 qualities in any of your team members who really irritate you, who you can't stand, who you are upset with. Look for the good qualities, 5 good qualities in each of those team members. That will help to shift your thinking about, maybe I'm being too judgmental. My health tip for you is to understand the harm to your health that comes from bearing grudges. So again, in your teams, are you bearing grudges to people in your teams? If you are, my health tip is you have to let it go if you want to get healthier. So, think about how today's big idea can make a difference to your life. If you are part of great teams, it makes a massive difference to your life. And I say to you that less than 20% of people in workplaces experience what this is like. That's why I do the work that I do for past 27 years running workshops to create great teams. If you are part of a great team in a company, please send me an email. I'll share with you a company that is committed to building great teams and has successfully done so. And it's a company called Bevmarks. And its founder, David Langworthy, and his leadership team have had a deep, deep commitment for many years. And I worked with them years ago. And they have continued this journey of commitment to building great teams. And they have built an extraordinary business based on building great teams. Before I go, I again invite you to visit our websites, covest.com, charlescovest.com. Subscribe to Passion Points to Ponder. Have a think about the self-awareness and passion quest for your life. And remember to subscribe to this podcast or the YouTube channel. Well, that's it. Thank you for watching, listening to this show. I wish for you an inspiring, challenging, passion-filled week that helps you on your learning, growing, self-awareness journey. And I also wish for you some fun. You know, like in these tough times of coronavirus, it's okay to have fun. Having fun unleashes a crucial element in your spiritual side. Thanks for being with us. I look forward to being with you in next week's show. Bye.